Throws down deep in the middle of the field. Rod Smith's got it. Here we go. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Rod Smith, Denver, touchdown. Inside the 10. Head first. He flies. Oh, my God. He wanted that first down.
And I tell you what, you want to tell me the 37-year-old man that's going to win this game.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year.
Well, hey, good evenings, Broncos country. Welcome back to another fantastic show. Thanks for tuning in to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We're here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We got a full slate of people to join us tonight. Welcome in, Mr. Jody Moncrief. Jody, how we doing, sir?
Welcome, Broncos country.
Welcome to the show, buddy. I got a few more people to join in, and then we'll get all started here. Let's say hello to Mr. Albert Knoppers. Mr. Albert Knoppers, how we doing, sir?
We're doing great. Yay!
Yay! I don't know if I'm ready for a yay quite yet. I would have been yay if we would have got that W yesterday, but hey, we'll get to that, man. I'm excited for your excitement. How's that?
Absolutely.
Last but not least, we'll welcome in first-time face, little Michael Nevins. How we doing, Michael?
Great. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos country. Well, gentlemen, I think I put an agenda. How are you recovering? I know for me, I usually have a beer during the game. Last night, I ended up having 2 beers. So recovery is still good. No worries there. Didn't go overboard, but had to drown my sorrows, I think, a little bit as we were coming down the stretch. Albert, how are you doing? How are you doing this fine evening? Are you recovering?
Absolutely. There are bad moments there in the game, but there are also very positive things that I saw. So I'm kind of happy of what happened.
Very good, man. Taking the shiny sides, taking the silver lining on that cloud. I like it. I know there's one guy that, at least in the chat last night and maybe even a little bit today, wasn't as happy. But Jody, how we doing, buddy? Welcome to the show, man.
Well, I'm doing good. Game didn't turn out like we wanted, but I mean, we've seen some positives. I haven't seen the offense move the ball like that in 6 years, so haven't seen quarterback play like that. I mean, I don't think Russell was spot on, but I mean, there's some positives.
I'll 100% agree with you there, buddy. I'll 100% agree. Michael, any recovery needed from you after watching that game last night?
Well, I would. The game seemed to go really fast to me, and I don't know if the rest of you thought that, but it seemed like the whole thing was rushed. That was just a feeling I had. But when I look back at the numbers, it surprises me that the offense was so productive.
Agreed.
You know, so why didn't we score? Well, I think from just a 30,000-foot view, there's 2 reasons. One was the run game, and then managing some of the clock.
Yeah.
As Jody had brought up, I'm going to I'm not going to steal his thunder there.
There you go.
But
So your way of recouping was just diving into all the stats, Michael. I like it, man. I'm like, how are you recovering from the game? He's like, I dove into all the stats. I started going over it. That's how I recovered. I had to make sense of it all. I love it, Michael.
Well, 430 yards is a lot of football.
It is.
Oh,
we're going to get into all that. We're going to actually end up breaking this all down like half by half.
Okay.
But I just want to do a little shout out. I just want to give a thanks out to Willow Seasonings and Blends. They're our sponsor for tonight's show. So check out their lineup at willowseasonings.com. Grab a bottle of their fajita seasonings and put a little spice into your life. So, all right, guys. Yeah, we'll break this down half by half. I'm not going to disagree with you at all, Michael. Obviously, from the penalties perspective, I think that was one of the things that we've seen almost right off the bat, it seemed like, was penalties, and they didn't let up. But boy, what a tale of 2 halves, man. I mean, I'll throw up a couple slides here in a few minutes, but, you know, first, right off the bat, what was your? I'll go with Jody. Jody's usually pretty good for this. What was your thoughts right off the bat, Jody, on how we came out of the tunnel? Let's face it, the boos started raining down. It was louder than I've been in that stadium. As loud as it sounded on the screen, I can tell you there was no way to hear the majority of that game for those guys. It was astounding. So, anyway, they take the field. What was your thoughts, Jody?
Right away, we still can't cover a tight end. I mean, they had, and it wasn't no offense. They're number one. I mean, they had no-name tight ends getting open, scoring touchdowns, making plays.
Yeah.
That stood out to me right away that problem has not been fixed at all.
At least not in that first half, man. Yeah, 6-play drive, 70 yards, 38-yard touchdown to Will Dissly. I went back. I actually saw a little bit of that video. Looks like Kareem Jackson came up, left the back end completely open on that play. I don't know if anybody else saw anything different. But once that happened, it was Will Dissly with nobody else around him. And heck, I forget who it was. There was a lineman that it got closer to running him down than any corner or safety almost. So
yeah, I didn't think the safeties had a great game, either one of them really. I mean, Simmons did recover that fumble late, but I didn't think they played a great game really.
Yeah, it wasn't calling it. We weren't calling their names. Simmons did end up tying an overall tackles with 9 for the night, so he did it kind of quietly. I imagine a lot of those. I didn't look at the total stat line. I imagine a lot of those were not solo tackles, but combo tackles. So, yeah, talk about a little bit that 6-play, 70-yard drive, that touchdown pass to Will Dissly. What was your thoughts as we kind of opened up, Albert? What were you thinking?
I think the defense in the first half was just total chaos. They were not there, and Simmons is supposed to be coordinating it, but there was no coordination. And I think that was the biggest problem. It was chaos. They didn't expect the Hawks to be that aggressive in play, probably, and they were literally completely surprised.
I'll give you that, man. The Seahawks came out, man. They were aggressive, man. They were pumped. They were ready to go. They looked like they had a notch or two extra level on their energy over the Broncos. You know what I mean? If we were playing on an 8, they were playing on a 10. If we were playing on a 10, they were playing on a 12. Whatever it happened to be, they were a couple notches above us. Michael, what was your thought as we kind of came out the tunnel, took that first or second drive out there? We did end up, by the way, I'll just kind of moving along in the game, we did end up retaliating with a 9-play, 77-yard drive that ended up in a 30-yard field goal. That got us to 7-3. And just to kind of get us caught up, Seattle, well, I'll leave that right there. We're at 7-3, McManus field goal. Michael, what was your thoughts at that point? How we're doing, what we're looking like?
I started out the game a little nervous just because I don't know. It's a controversy about playing the starters in preseason, but that made me nervous. And I think for sure the first half, we saw a team that was very confused. I think Patrick Surtain did great the whole game. He really kept Metcalf in check. Overall, the stats, the numbers don't look too bad if you're not watching the whole game. If you just look at the numbers.
I agree.
But obviously they got to play the game. And the first half, I think I agree with Albert, was pretty sloppy. And it was definitely chaos. That's a good statement.
Go around the horn again, just really quick. Same rotation. Jody, do you think Josie Jewell, that was a big loss in this defense and the communication?
I think it was a big loss because he was calling plays. He's the play caller, and they didn't know till whatever that was, Tuesday, Wednesday, that he might not play. So that's when he injured his foot. So, I mean, to turn that over, I think Jonas Griffith was calling plays. I mean, to turn that over to him that was one other thing. His first start of the year, the elbow, and then now have to call plays like that. I think that was a big – I mean, you can – for whatever you want to say about Josie Jewell, I mean, you go back to last year before the the bicep or the pec injury, he was playing really well, and
Yep.
he's the leader on the field. So
100%, man. Keep going around the horn just again, Albert. I take it you agree. Big loss having Josie Jewell out this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the orchestrator of the defense there, and you can really tell that he was missed last night. And they picked it up a little bit in the second half. It was a little bit better, but yeah, it was a big miss. And Singleton, I don't know why Singleton was there.
I thought Singleton played okay. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
I mean, that first drive, I mean, he's got to make that tackle. I mean, he blew the running back up, and he makes that sack. That saves 4 points right there.
He had a couple of those, multiple of those halfway tackles that he missed, and yeah.
Michael, let's end up with you. Josie Jewell, big deal. He was out. You think that made the difference and why we had a struggle?
I don't know if I'm on board with all that, only because I don't have a lot of opinion about Josie. I would say the defense turned it up. They shut him out in the second half, and they kept Geno to 200, rushing to 100. We shouldn't have lost this game.
Oh, I agree, man. I agree.
And that's so I'm looking at I'm not zooming in on Josie too much. I'm still up in my airplane, so
you're still 30,000.
Doing the 30,000-foot view, so I'll be your man for that.
All right, man.
Somebody wasn't calling the plays.
Yeah.
And with Josie out, I guess that was Simmons. So I don't.
I'm not sure who it defaulted to.
I think Jonas Griffith was wearing the green dot, I think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense.
I know Simmons is the captain.
Yeah. Something
So maybe that doesn't mean anything.
I think it's as much locker room and outside the facility as it is on the field sometimes. You know? But
I think it was a big impact because they went out and signed him right away in the offseason. They made that a priority right away. They let Kenny Young go. They let other inside linebackers, Alexander Johnson, go, and they signed Josie right away.
Yep.
For whatever you want to say about Josie, they had a lot of confidence in him, and he is the leader of that defense. So,
well, we don't have Victor in the comments, but I do want to get to a few comments, so you're safe with any Josie Jewell comments as far as that. We have Victor, a good friend that visits the show from time to time, wants to trade Josie Jewell to any team for a bag of Lay's potato chips. So we don't have to deal with that right now. But honestly, I think honestly the combination of Jewell and Griffith, I think, is going to be fantastic. At least what I saw in training camp. Hopefully that translates to the field. We can get them both back on the field, both healthy at the same time. By the way, shout out to Jonas Griffith. Played the whole game. Didn't have any issues from a dislocated elbow that was supposed to be having him out many weeks longer than what we saw him come back in week 1 for. But getting to those comments real quick, guys, we do have Dreamweaver 90 or Dreamweaver 10. I'm sorry, coming in saying, "Let's go, boys! On to the next one. Let's ride." Yeah. On to the next one way or another. We'll get through this show, and then we'll get on to the next one. We do have another interesting matchup in Week 2. Caleb, good friend of the show because he's also part of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check out the No Huddle. It's on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I think it's, if I want to say 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings. All of your college football knowledge comes through there. Have a good show, fellas. Rough night, but there's still time to improve the season. Let's ride, man. Lots of let's rides, man. Facebook user coming in, just saying, "How's it going, fellas?" Well, it's going pretty good, hanging in there and doing all right. But hey, if you don't give your permission to StreamYard, just drop your name in the comment, unless you don't want your name to be known, and then just be Facebook user. And our good friend Sis jumping in saying, "Good evening, gents. Good evening to you." We got some Matt coming in with a lot of different comments, but he's getting all topical. So it was Griffith that had the green dot. He's laughing about Victor. And hey, we got a newbie coming in. Rain. So, Rain, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate all the newbies always. So, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Well, guys, I kind of left us off at 3-7. One of the biggest plays in that first quarter, in that first half, Seattle drives all the way down. It was a 7-play, 72-yard drive after that field goal, and go for it on fourth down. We stop them right down near the goal line. Was it an 8-yard line, I think it was? Get the ball turned over on downs. Honestly, thought that was going to be a really big turning point for us, but unfortunately we end up punting after that, and after 7 plays and 38 yards, we end up having a punt, and that punt dang near got blocked. I don't know how much you guys were sweating it when that punt came off that foot. I didn't think it came off the foot. I was looking for it.
I thought it was blocked.
It was amazing. But just really quick, guys, thoughts. Maybe we'll start with Michael. Your thoughts on that stop on the downs, and maybe on that punt as well.
Well, I guess at the beginning of the game, I try to, see it as the cup's half full. So there's a lot of emotions going on. Russ says he's calm and all that, but how can you be? And that place is loud. Yeah. I've been there. I think they tore it down to begin with just to make it louder. I think that was their only reason. But I've never, Mile High, the old Mile High used to be really loud. But I mean, I just noticed the noise. And I think when Alberts was talking about the first half, there being a lot of confusion, I really think that had a lot to do with being able to communicate. You saw Russ out there running around, talking to everybody up and down the line, which you normally don't see. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my take on what was going on at the beginning of the game. And
I agree.
I don't know if you guys seen it, but they showed the the decimal meter multiple times, and it was 99,
close to 100.
100.
Yeah.
I mean, it was loud there.
It was. I told my wife actually is in some training. She's out in the Seattle-Tacoma area. I told her watch out for the Richter scale. I didn't know what was going to be happening out there. I didn't know if there was going to be another beast mode Richter scale moment out there, So, Victor coming in, he says, "So Josie Jewel night, huh? Josie Jewel, right?" So it's a Josie Jewel night, Victor. Appreciate you jumping in here. Appreciate it a ton. So Michelle jumping in saying, Michelle Knoppers, by the way. Good evening, gentlemen. Rough but exciting warm-up game. On to bigger and better results. Let's hope so, Michelle. Well, like I said, for me, I was excited. That turnover on downs, that fourth down stop, I thought that was huge. Wasn't obviously excited about going 7 for 38 and an almost blocked punt. Next one was a 9-play 50 yards and a 49-yard field goal by the Seahawks. That puts them up 3-10 at that point. So game seems like it's kind of getting away with us, but probably one of the biggest plays of the game comes next on a 3-play 75-yard drive. Any guesses on what was the big play in the three-play 75-yard drive?
The catch of Judy.
How about a 67-yard touchdown by Jerry Jeudy, getting that monkey off his back? Mm-hmm. Thank goodness, man.
Yeah.
Week
he acts
one,
surprised.
It's gone. He acts surprised? You think he acts surprised?
Yeah.
I like it. I think it was funny.
Yeah, I caught the ball. I better run,
Oh.
That's what it looked like.
What I liked about that play was he won off the line and he won on his route running. I mean, Russell Wilson threw a horrible pass. I mean, it was way underthrown, and he had won the route so much that, I mean, that was all on Jerry Jeudy, the way he ran that route and got himself open.
Mm-hmm.
100%, Albert. Go ahead. It looks like you had a comment too.
Absolutely. But about the block punt from Waitman, I want to go back to that one for a second.
Go ahead.
He turned the field over because that was a mighty kick.
Yeah.
He got it back into the other 15-yard line. It was a mighty kick.
Yeah.
37-yard kick.
Leg.
Yeah, 37-yard kick is what it ended up netting out to be overall. I don't know what the overall length was. I think there was a little bit of a return on that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously, as much as Sam Martin was a great guy, good fellow teammate, he's on to Buffalo, and Corliss Waitman taking the job and not looking too bad in his efforts on the field. So, good call. Obviously, though, you got to be happy with that Jerry Jeudy TD.
Absolutely.
Though. You were talking about him getting that monkey off his back in the Time to Ride pregame show over on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So,
Yeah.
It's been about 500 days that he had a touchdown, something like that.
yep, over 500
He
days.
looked like
they
a
said.
gazelle once he caught that ball. I mean, he was just left that guy in the dust, which is exciting. I mean, he is so fast and quick.
That was the most impressive part for me, because he had to shrug off that corner. Then he kind of did a little stutter juke, a little stutter juke. That's my best impersonation. The legs won't do it, but the upper half can.
I thought that was Judy for a second.
You thought so, huh? I appreciate it. But then that acceleration as that safety's coming over, because that safety didn't have to stop. That safety's coming over at a pretty good click, and Judy just turned the corner, ran past him. I agree. Like all three of you saw it. I think Jody pointed out, Albert pointed out, Michael, you're all on board. That was a fantastic play. It was great to get it again. They get that monkey off his back. Victor agreeing. He's saying Judy has been way overdue. Consistency will determine his season. Don't disagree. Had one drop. Did have one drop later in the game, but
Really costly drop too.
yeah,
On
really
that last
costly.
drive.
But and the fun thing was with those getting free, he didn't just do it once; he did it multiple times. One throw that went to Pookie, but in the same time, Judy was wide open.
Yeah. You had early on one stat that I haven't really been talking about in this first half. Andrew Beck had a couple of big catches. One that was like a finger catch.
Great one-handed catch.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing
Crazy.
catch.
And that's when Wilson was just a little off. I mean, he
I
puts
agree.
that right on him. That might be a touchdown.
And it felt like there was a few passes like that, and I think that's Albert's point, right? There was a few passes where, hey, we were lucky on Judy. They even pointed out in the broadcast, I mean, if he would have hit him in stride, that was a wide open walk-in touchdown. As it is, you're shrugging off a corner, you're having to put on the afterburners and eke it out around a safety to get in. Sutton was happy. He came over and jumped off his shoulders with the celebration. And there we are. We're 10-10. It's feeling pretty good at that point. Maybe like we have a chance and we're back in it and we're back rolling again. We all know better, but but as far as the final outcome, but man, I'm just getting caught up on my notes. So,
But to be honest, I thought that this was the most exciting games of all of them in the entire weekend.
That's a good point, man. As far as exciting games that you were really pulling for, we even had a tie, but those tie games weren't that exciting. It was more like an ugly slugfest down the stretch rather than just some of the excitement that was happening. Don't get me wrong. If you really look at this, the first half of this game, I don't know if start again. I don't know if any of you caught the Manning cast or were watching any of the Manning cast. Peyton Manning called it right on the broadcast. He said, man, I think after this first half, it's all going to slow down. It's going to get a lot tighter from here. And it did get a lot tighter just to kind of get caught up after that 67-yard touchdown. Right back the other way, 7 plays, 75 yards, but they had to settle for a 25-yard field goal. Seattle puts 3 points on the board, 10-17, and then again, right back. No punts, no nothing like that. No change of possession. 9 plays, 57 yards. McManus nails a 40-yarder, and we go into the half, 13-17. Just thoughts overall where we're at the half. Do you remember how you were feeling at the half? 13-17. Jody, we'll start with you.
I thought Wilson played all right. There was just he was off just a little bit. I mean, even on that last drive. And they said it on the announcement too. If he makes a back shoulder throw to Sutton down the sideline right there, they're going to have the ball inside probably the 5-yard line. Instead, he overthrew him, and I mean, he was just off a little bit.
Yeah, first half stats for Russell Wilson. Anybody watching along? 10 for 15, 260 yards and a touchdown. How about you, Albert? How were you feeling kind of going into that halftime where we were at? Again, 13-17 at halftime, getting the ball back first in the second half.
Well, for me, if I would have been the coach, I would have been chewing some butts out. And I think that is what happened. And the second half, it was a night and day difference.
Yeah.
I agree, especially from the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
We saw a switch kind of get flipped, obviously.
I love the adjustments from the D to the second
Yep.
half.
How about you, Michael? Any thoughts going into halftime? What you were expecting, what you were thinking? Nervous, anticipated, excited?
I was nervous. I didn't. The noise was getting to me. I was having trouble hearing the plays. I mean, so anyway, with Russ and the way, he's able to come back in games. I mean, I was optimistic, but I just kept thinking about how Aaron Rodgers plays when they come in their first game. And that was sort of following me around, and they've come out sloppy, 2 years in a row, and they were Sunday as well. And so I was thinking about that and thinking about, are we doing the right thing by not getting warmed up? Because apparently it took us at least a half of this football game to get warmed up on the defense anyway. Yeah, and I'm not sure the offense ever did get warmed up. So,
it looked like they got warmed up. The problem is they just couldn't get into the end zone. That was the biggest problem that we had in the second half. Just wrapping up a few more stats from the first half. Javonte, or as Albert loves to call him, Pookie, big first half, 5 for 41. How about that average? Anybody like that? About 8+ yards per carry?
That's one thing I was disappointed in the first half is they were running the ball at will, and it seems like they didn't want to stick to it.
Not going to have any disagreement from you there. It just seemed
he should have had double-digit carries the way he was running the ball.
Yeah,
so
the numbers overall were pretty low for running. I mean, they should have been running a lot more.
I mean, that's not a recipe, in my opinion. 42 passes, 19 rushes at the 20, but one was Russell Wilson. I mean, that's not with those kind of averages. I mean, they rushed for over 100.
Yeah, and it didn't get any better in the second half. We'll end up getting to that. Just kind of rounding out the running back room. Melvin Gordon coming in with another 3 carries and 18 yards in the first half. Had added in a reception for 6 yards as well. I appreciate Paul just coming in here and letting us all know it's going to be okay, man. It's going to be okay. I appreciate you, Paul, man. It didn't feel like it when we started when that game wrapped up last night. So, a couple more stats. Obviously, the one catch for 67 yards from Judy, and Sutton. Sutton ended up getting his first catch as well. That was another big thing, guys. I didn't put Beck's numbers up here. I didn't put Albert O's numbers up here. But it was a running back, tight end, almost exclusive first half as far as passes from Russell Wilson.
Were you guys surprised with that they didn't feed the wide receivers more?
And this is what was really surprising to me is in that press conference when he was asked about it from today when Hackett was asked about it, he said, we had our plan of who we wanted to get the ball to. And I don't know if this was like the whole mindset. This is what first came to mind. And, maybe I'm just, a big tinfoil hat guy. But Russell Wilson, what was he known for not being able to do when he was in Seattle? What did he not take advantage of?
The
tight ends, right? And then you add in that you have your running backs as well. Again, that's probably not a position that he was throwing to a whole lot up in Seattle. Probably didn't get that much of attention, but the big attention was tight ends. I don't know if this was just a prove-it type of mentality that we're going to go out there and we're just going to be selectively going after the tight ends of the running back, or if this is just my big tinfoil hat. Prove me wrong, guys. Any of you guys got an opinion on that?
Yeah,
we fed the tight ends. I mean, Albert O had 5 catches, and Beck had 2 more. I mean, that's 7 catches. They had
I think
more.
they did well without
So-
Fant. I think they did a lot better than I thought they were going to. I kept waiting for Hamler to get the ball because he's my man. He's from Michigan, and
True.
I know his cousin pretty well. So we keep talking about how he needs to eat more beef, because he needs to get a little tougher. But
Get a little more meat on him, huh?
yeah, he didn't really do anything. So
No.
you
Hamler
were
was pretty
talking about
non-existent.
wide receivers, but I don't think they tried to get the ball around as much as I would have liked to have seen.
Agreed. Albert?
I'm using your tinfoil hat again.
Okay.
I think they wanted to show off the NFL world that Wilson is willing to use the tight ends and the running backs.
Yeah.
And now that defenses have to be prepared more for an entire offense instead of just wide receivers or running backs. And who knows, maybe that was their gameplay.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, that was my thought and my process. Especially at first, I was thinking, well, maybe that's what he's getting. He's just taking what he's been given. Maybe he's doesn't want to press it down the sidelines. Doesn't want to press it too deep. He's playing it more conservative. All this was running through my head at first, but man, after they came out and Hackett came out in that press conference and said we had a plan and there was where we wanted the ball to go. We had a plan of where we wanted that ball to go and who we wanted it to go to. Just made me think of that. So we come out of the tunnel, guys. We get the ball. We go 10 plays, 78 yards, and first fumble of the game for Denver. Cough it up on the 1 yard line. Of course, it has to be our guy, Melvin Gordon. Got to have the first fumble of the year for us. Put it on the turf. I don't know. Michael, go ahead, kick it off. What was your thoughts when that happened?
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
That's a lot of Bronco fans complain about Melvin Gordon as he seems to fumble at inopportune times. But when is there a good fumble? I mean, I don't think there is such a thing.
Yeah, it's not on the 1 yard line usually though either.
Yeah.
So
it's not the fumble that bothered me because he was down. He didn't make it in.
okay.
So much. What you have Javonte Williams, who was like 4th in the NFL in breaking tackles last year, and he never gets the ball down on the goal line. I
know.
I don't understand that. Why do they keep feeding Melvin Gordon down there when this is now 2 times he has fumbled the ball right down there on the goal line? When you have a guy with those kind of stats.
Yeah.
And
Albert?
here's the other side. If he would have held the ball for 1 more inch, it would have been a touchdown. So there is 2 sides of the whole picture. It could have gone both. It could have gone both ways, and it went ugly for the Broncos. So
Yeah, it
Went
looked
ugly
in
for
to me.
Gordon.
Looked like it was in.
Yeah.
to me too.
I
saw that ball was moving. It was moving as he started to come down. He never really regained possession of it, and because of that, crossing the line doesn't count. You have to have full possession of the ball, before and during crossing the line. I'll agree with the refs. I hate to do it, man. I'd rather be on the Broncos side and say we got robbed on that one. There was plenty of other calls I think that we could talk about where we got robbed on throughout this game. I just don't know if that's particularly one of them. Feel bad for Melvin Gordon, man. The guy does not seem like he can catch a break. He is like Michael, you might be right. There's never an opportune time to fumble, but I can tell you he picks the worst times. I tell you, it just seems like.
I thought they were going to say he was down. That was
Yeah,
my call, that he
yeah.
was down. And so since he was down and crossed the plane, I thought that was a touchdown. So
Yeah.
that was my call.
Well, I like your call better. Believe me. I wish that's the way I would have saw it, but obviously that was just an absolute heartbreaker, man. That was our chance. Here we are, our chance to go up in the game, wasted away. So Seattle gets the ball back. What about the 10-yard line? They go 5 plays, 37 yards, and we get our first turnover of the game in a fumble that was recovered by us, I should say, because there was a forced fumble earlier in the game by Ronald Darby. This one I think they actually end up giving to Randy Gregory on the forced fumble on this one. We get the ball back. Celebration time in Broncos country. We're ready to go. We can punch it back in again. Unfortunately, 5 plays, 31 yards. And another fumble at the goal line, this time by Pookie. I know that, Jody, you said, hey, let's give it to Pookie. We gave it to Pookie. So there you go, buddy. There's your result.
Yep.
But I'd like to.
I'm letting you rebut.
But this goes back to a couple of things. One, they were getting the play in so late. I mean, you're getting up to the line with 5 seconds left, and then you got guys that don't know where they're going, and he's telling them where to go, and then they're fast snapping it. He tried to audible on that play.
Yep.
Graham Glasgow was doing a pass set that gets blown up because everyone else was run blocking. I mean, they would have been much better just here. We're doing 4 handoffs and get in or don't.
Yeah.
They tried to get too cute.
Hackett even said in his press conference today, he said, if, in hindsight, I would have just went out there and just gave him one play to run and not giving him options to audible or anything like that. But when you have a guy like Russell Wilson, that's what you want to do, is give him that opportunity to check out of a bad play if he sees it. He goes on, and you hit it exactly on the head. He said the communication was bad. Glasgow didn't hear the call. He's back there pass set blocking, getting blown up in the backfield, running into Javonte. It was just everything went backwards, and it caused the fumble. So
I don't like that he's in shotgun so much, especially when you know you're going to run. Give that running back. I mean, you're not giving him a start with the ball.
Correct.
He's getting the ball at a standstill and then trying to take off. And he was in shotgun a lot, and I didn't like that.
And they should have just have called a play of the timeout, because at 3 seconds, the offensive line were looking at Russell Wilson. What is going on? They should have called a timeout right there and then.
Just rusty. It's just all rust.
See, that's where they need some. But that's where I say he can't manage the whole game. He's not focused on. He's worried about calling that play. He's not watching the clock or the timeout. That's on Hackett. They gotta. If he's gonna be calling plays, they've got to have somebody. Hey, we got 2 seconds left in there. Just timeout. Or Wilson's got to have that.
There you go. I'll put 40% of that on Wilson.
40%
of that on Hackett. 60% of that's got to be on Wilson. You're
He's a
standing
veteran
down
quarterback. There. He got 2 delay games and probably should have got 3.
Yeah, and here you are down.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me.
You're down there, packed up against the end zone, in a stadium that you used to play in. It's not like you can't say, I don't know where the clock's at in this stadium. I didn't realize the clock was running down or anything like that. I mean, this is his old stadium. He should have been able to. Good point, Albert. We should have called a timeout right there. We should have had another chance at that. If the offense was in that much of a question, had no idea what was going on, that much in shambles as the play was about ready to be. The ball was ready to hike. The play was about ready to happen. Timeout right there. That's a good call, Albert. I like.
And what good are the timeouts to save them at the end? So I mean,
don't even go there.
I mean, that's another. I mean, that made me really think of Vic Fangio. Like,
I'm kidding, but that was crazy.
Down there, that's an important time right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
They played a trick on Wilson. They moved the clock.
They moved the clock around the stadium. They moved it just over the off season. They're like, we're redesigning the stadium. All right. Well, even after that fumble, Seattle gets the ball. I didn't write down how many plays, but they end up going out. They end up having to punt the ball again. We finally get the ball back, go 15 plays, 72 yards. That sounds like a touchdown. No, that's a 26-yard field goal. We end up being down just 16-17 at that point. I'll just wrap this up, guys. After that, just a 3 plays, -6 yards as we just kind of blew up the Seattle, giving ourselves one more shot. Seattle has to punt. Then we have a 10-play, 32-yard drive. We all know what the final play of the game, at least for the Broncos. That's where this ended. Missed field goal for 64 yards. So just coming down the stretch, guys. Disappointing, obviously. It was good play, like we kind of mentioned, from the defense. The defense really kicked it up in the second half as we kind of went through kind of all those different punts that the Seahawks had and fumbles that the Seahawks had. They really had nothing going on in that second half offensively.
Incredible, 34 yards the whole second half.
34 yards. Yeah. Just phenomenal, right? You know, I mean, 34 yards from Geno Smith, if I remember right? Second half? Yeah.
Total, 34 total yards.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean,
they weren't
made a
moving the
great
ball.
adjustment.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 31 carries, or 31 yards from Geno Smith. Rashad Penny had 4 carries for 7 yards. Obviously, there were some negative plays in there, including on that negative 6 yard where they ended up having a punt, negative 6 yard drive where they had the punt. That was the one where DK Metcalf just got blown up, if I remember correctly, as he tried to do that screen. Patrick Surtain was out there on coverage, and it went nowhere. He ended up playing off and then having to trying to circle back around, got caught up by the whole rest of the defense. That was a good stand. Like I said, gave ourselves a chance as they punted the ball back to us, and we had time going down, and time's going to be the question as we came down that last stretch towards that 64-yard field goal. Anybody remember the exact amount of time we had on the clock as third down turned into fourth down, 4th and 5?
We had 38 seconds from if I'm not mistaken.
If they'd have called it right, when they called the timeout, about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
About 20 seconds?
So they run the clock for 18 seconds. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know if you guys caught it, but if you guys watched the Manning cast, Peyton Manning, I don't know how he didn't have broken fingers. He was timeout. And then Shannon Sharp had
those guys were a blast.
Shannon Sharp had the line of the night. You wasted 20 seconds to call a timeout.
Right?
What did you gain by that? You didn't gain anything.
Yeah. Those guys are so funny. They distract me from the game a little bit, so I had to switch it back over to Buck and Aikman.
Yeah, I couldn't handle Aikman very much, man. He was about ready to drive up the wall. I was doing a little bit of flipping back and forth as well. Speaking of Shannon Sharp, the other thing that he was doing, he wasn't only saying that, what are you thinking of? He was also taking a few shots, if I remember correctly, on screen, as he said that the Broncos had him drinking going down the stretch, which I thought was pretty entertaining as well. But I don't know, man. I know it's a controversial call. But the one thing I do like, and here's Hackett's one little cheerleader, I guess, in me that I'll put out there. When he went to that press conference, he said, "Hey, we made a decision as a team. We decided before even the game even started, if we got to that point where we were at the 46-yard line, we got to the 46-yard line, we were on the left hash, that we were going to kick that field goal." He goes, we committed as a team. We were going to stay committed as a team, and that's what we did. He goes, yeah, looking back in hindsight, now that we missed it, sure, I would love to have that play back, and we would go for it instead. But that was our decision. That's what we decided on. That's what we stuck with. And I got to say, hey, when you're coming in there and you're saying, hey, guys, if we get down to this, is this what we're going to do? Is this what we're going to do? Are we going to kick a field goal if we get to the 46? And everyone's like, yeah, we're going to kick a field goal if we get to the 46. And then all of a sudden you get to the 46 and you're like, guys, I know that you guys all said we should do it, but I don't think we should. I think we should go for it. That's also not a really great team motivator for all those players who are saying, let's go out there. We've all bought into this idea and this concept either. Don't get me wrong.
It was exciting.
I don't know if Russ
that they went for it.
I agree that it was exciting. I know that Jody is not going to agree at all. And if you got any of the media, it was probably first topic on any show that you watched today. Nathaniel Hackett is not getting a whole lot of praise for his decision. Jody, why don't you give me all your praise for Nathaniel Hackett and or maybe non-praise in his decision there?
I have some good and bad. Why? We haven't seen the offense move the ball like that in 6 years, probably, besides maybe a game here or there. So that's promising. Russell missed some throws, was off a little bit, but I think that will get ironed out. The run game, they were running at will. They need to run the ball more. So those are all positives I like. The game management or the clock management for the clock management and getting plays in. That reminded me of Vic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's where Russell Wilson needed to, or somebody needed to say, hey, one play, run it. We don't have time for you to walk out here and tell me because I can't hear you, and you're telling me 2 or 3 times, and then you're telling this guy 2 or 3 times, and we're snapping the ball at one, and I mean, multiple delay of games. So that, and I don't like how they come to whatever the 46-yard line. I mean, cool that McManus can hit that in pregame, but I mean,
So-
2 field goals in NFL history have been made that far, so I don't like that.
I am also agreeing with one of the comments with the statements in one of the comments. When they missed that field goal, while the Seahawks called a timeout, that should have been a warning for them, and they should have brought Rush back in. But they stuck with the play. They already saw it. It missed one time.
Yeah,
But if you watch Russ when they called the timeout finally, he pulled his helmet off and he was content. Like this was settled way before. If we get here, I don't have a problem with them settling for the field goal. It's the number that they settled on.
Yeah.
I mean, a 50-yarder or a 55, that's one thing, but that would have been the second longest field goal in NFL history.
Oh, I agree. Now, I said that I was going to be his biggest cheerleader. The one thing I will say is this. I don't know if it's, hey, my lucky number, that penny that's heads up out in the gutter, whatever it happens to be, whatever lucky omen has to come to you. I understand that all of a sudden it hits 46 yards on the dot, just like Brandon McManus said, and it seems like it's this omen that you should be kicking the field goal and it's going to go through and you're going to win the game. But sometimes I think, like you said, decision making, hopefully he has some retrospect. Maybe he has a little bit better negotiation skills with Brandon McManus in the future and says, really, the 46? How about we shoot for the 40? You know what I mean? Something, you know what I mean? Because like you said, 64-yarder, tie in all time, only happened twice in NFL history. Maybe just a little bit too much going into that game and putting it all on the luck of landing directly on the 46-yard line. Last thing I'll just say, when Hackett in that press conference, he did say, hey, as far as I'm concerned, that's not what I'm mad about. I'm more mad about the negative play that we took beforehand, before Javonte ended up getting that additional 9 yards that got us to the 46. He goes, I'm mad about that. I think and I don't quote me on this, but I think he was also referencing a little bit more frustrated, with the opportunities that they had and that it shouldn't have come down to a 64-yard field goal or a 4th and 5 with, less than a minute to go, you know what I mean, trying to make something happen. His thought process, it should have been settled a lot sooner than that, which is, hey, for me, that's the right perspective to have as a coach. So,
yeah, I think the run game struggled the whole game. I think they were struggling I don't think they had the block schemes right, and it seemed really, like Albert said, it just seemed like chaos.
Well, the funny thing is,
there on the line.
It was, like I said, it was a tale of two halves altogether, whether it was shutting down the offense or what we were doing as well. Javonte has 2 carries for 2 yards and a fumble in the second half. Melvin Gordon got the majority of the carries, but he goes 9 carries for 40 yards. Not near the averages that we were seeing in that first half. Of course, he also has that fumble. So, I mean, it was like literally a tale of two halves. We solved a lot of problems on defense, but, geez, from an offensive standpoint, all of a sudden our running game just went – it was gone. And to that, I mean, I know that's not a whole lot of carries. Russell Wilson did go 19 for 27, 134 yards in that second half. So, he was putting it out there a little bit more often on the, from off his arm too. But boy, the running game disappeared. The defense just all of a sudden tightened up, and we had a game that only scored an additional 3 points in that second half as we went from a 13-17 game to a 16-17 game, and that's how we ended the game.
And one person we didn't mention who I thought had a good fourth quarter was Bradley Chubb. I mean, he had 2 sacks.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he really turned it up. Yeah, that was refreshing.
And
I thought Gregory played well. I thought Gregory
Yep.
for coming off that arm injury, I thought Gregory played well. So
Yeah, got some good pressure early. That's one thing that I didn't like is the defense didn't seem like it maintained their lanes very well. It allowed Geno Smith to get out of the pocket, step up in the pocket, make throws that way. Randy Gregory, I think, was trying to turn up field a little bit too much at times. That would be the only critique of Randy Gregory. But yeah, coming back from all the injuries and getting the start and going out there, agreed, fantastic.
and he's never been a
showing,
sack
so-
guy, so I don't expect huge sack numbers from Gregory, but he's always been get pressure, stop the run, that kind of player. So I mean, I thought that's what he did well last night.
And that's where the miss of Joshi was in place too, because he would coordinate. He would have probably gotten Geno Smith a little bit quicker.
Final stats for Mr. Russell Wilson: 29 for 42, 340 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Came in with 101.3, like we said.
Wow.
Just a fantastic night. Honestly, if you look at these stats, you would never expect to see the outcome that we had of that game. Those 2 fumbles were just huge, obviously. Run through a few.
There was one thing I noticed
Talk. Go ahead.
from Wilson was all his passes went to the outside. He did not throw one pass in the middle of the field all
Mm.
and I don't know. I mean, Judy, he was open a few times in the middle of the field, and he decided to throw a little dump pass to Williams. I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's a timing thing or what. Yet it was like he was afraid to just rip the ball.
Real quick, I'll get to a couple more comments. Rick coming in says, even with 12 penalties, 2 yards instead of 2 fumbles would have made that game a fashionable win. Overall, I'm very optimistic. We got some work to do. We'll be looking sharp in no time. So appreciate it, Rick. I'm optimistic as well. Hey, it's week 1. I talked about this. Me and Albert, we were in the Time to Ride pregame show on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. It's a pre- and post-game show, so check that out. But I told him, hey, little bit of nerves. And the reason being is kind of like Michael was saying as we kind of came into this broadcast. These guys have not played together. You know what I mean? This is they haven't played any preseason. They haven't had any live reps. They haven't had to hit. They haven't been hit. And especially when you talk about an offense and you're going into that environment, that's the first environment that you're going to walk into and have to try to get all in sync, on the same page, be dialed in, bring home a victory. That's not an easy task, man. I really think, as Rick kind of pointed out, we round up those penalties, get those kind of all in line. That's definitely like a game 1, no preseason type of issue that we're dealing with there. I can't imagine fumble drills won't be a big portion of the running back drills this week. So, you get that all trained up. You put those two things to bed, I think we're looking much better than especially the outcome.
Seattle did pretty good. It wasn't a high stats game, but Geno was solid. They didn't make a ton of mistakes. And so I think that they didn't have a lot. I don't think they had any turnovers.
Single
Did
turnover.
they have one pick?
That
One
one
pick?
fumble.
One fumble. Okay, well.
And this
But-
is Seattle's Super Bowl. Just because of the whole Russell thing. I mean, this really was their
Yeah.
Super Bowl. I mean,
100%.
if Denver catches Seattle at any other time of the year, I don't think that this game's close.
Yeah.
They just caught him at a bad time, first game of the year. 16 more games, and I read one quote today. The players feel a lot better about the 0-1 start than they do about the 3-0 start they had last year. So, I mean, that tells you a lot right there. So,
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of Broncos country reiterate that exact same point. Hey, what we put on the field, you mentioned it as well, Jody, what we look like on the field, what Russell Wilson was capable of. I think we all mentioned it for that fact. It's just it looks completely different. I have so much more faith and confidence in what's possible. We just got to get some of this all ironed out. So, man, any last thoughts on this game, guys, before we put this to bed? Looking forward to the Texans.
Yeah,
I have one thing going forward that we didn't really mention.
Okay, yeah, hit it.
Quinn Miners. I mean, he went
Oh.
out early with a little hamstring injury. Reports today it's got a slight tear. They're saying 3 to 4 weeks, possibly short-term IR.
Yeah.
I mean, and that could be big. I mean, he is probably your best running or blocking lineman. So,
Yep.
what do they do going forward? I didn't think Lloyd Cushenberry had a great game yesterday. Now you've got Graham Glasgow in there who's still coming off of the injury.
Mm-hmm.
Do they bring Moody up? What do they do there? I mean, Compton's still on IR, so he's nowhere close. I mean, that's a big blow for him.
It's a good call, Jody. We missed Miner's injury altogether. I think a lot of people might have missed it throughout the game. It wasn't really talked about during the broadcast at all.
I missed it.
But it was certainly talked about, I know, in the chat room and Broncos country. So it was some of us were tuned into that. Moody would be an interesting one to bring back up. I feel a little bit better with Moody and the way he moves than Glasgow. That was one of the things that just irked me. Is that, honestly, with Glasgow's performance last night, it's worth taking a look at somebody else in that position, maybe getting him a few more reps and seeing what you have there. Wasn't really impressed with what he put together. He seemed like he was the weak link that made Cushenberry look that much worse throughout the game.
Yep.
So.
Now, one thing, he's coming off an injury, though. I mean, he had knee surgery in the offseason or preseason, so
And I get that.
I don't know where they're at with that. So
It's not a deep room. And then their one signing, they brought one guy in on the practice squad today, and he's a tight end, so that didn't necessarily
I would bet they bring him
our
up.
guard.
I would bet they bring Moody up.
Okay.
I would have to bet that they bring him to the 53. You have no other backup guards on. I mean, you got Wattenberger, yes,
Yeah.
but he's a rookie.
I don't think Wattenberger's ready in comparison to Moody. You know what I mean? I think Moody's the right call. I think that's a. Thanks, Jody.
He'll go with Glasgow, would be my opinion. He'll get the start Sunday, would be my guess. But
yeah, might get second start, see how he's doing, and might have a little bit shorter leash on him. Like I said, I didn't like the way he looked in there. He didn't seem like they were much of a short leash, long leash, though, at the same time. Even Gordon, after he put his fumble on the ground, he was right back in there carrying the ball just a few minutes later. So I got to admit, I kind of like that. I always hate that whole you're in the doghouse. It's sometimes I think that someone being in the doghouse is to the detriment of the team as much as it is to the detriment of the player. So good coaching on that half as well. Just like I said, for me, not the outcome I was expecting, but at the same time, like I said, I was nervous. I kind of looked at it kind of like a trap game. There was that possibility just because of the environment and everything that was going on, and all the talk around it, and and again, for me, the practice leading up, I might be a little bit old school. I think we should have got a little bit more preseason time with these ones, but in Hackett we trust for right now, and that's where we're at. So move on from week one, in my opinion. Hopefully week two, going back home, will cure some ills. Michael, how about you?
I think we'll do really well. We've got a defense in the Houston Texans that's rated last in about every category. I don't know how they ended up in a tie with the Colts. I still haven't figured that out. I did watch the game, and I'm a little puzzled that something sneaky was going on. But their numbers are just, their offense they're rated 23rd. Defense, 32nd in total yards allowed. 31st in passing and 27th in rushing. So hopefully we'll put on a clinic next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Move on with Houston coming to town. They didn't get a very pleasurable pull, I guess you could say, in week one when it came to their run defense. They had to go up against Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Not an easy task. Probably not going to rank too high on your defense after a week one performance when Jonathan Taylor comes into your house in most instances.
One thing that
not-
scares me is O.J. Howard. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns in that game. I mean,
2 catches,
Denver-
2 touchdowns, and he's been there for
Denver
like
showed
6
that-
days.
Right. And Denver's already shown that tight ends is going to be a struggle again. So
Yeah, very true. Albert, your thoughts?
I'm really excited. What we saw yesterday from the offense, we haven't seen for the last 6 years. We saw more plays in one game than 4 or 5 games with Sherman to combine. So I'm really excited, and I think we have 16 more games, and I think we are going to be a team that they need to take care of, because we can make it.
Like Paul said, we're going to be okay. That's the message of the
Yes.
day, right?
We're
Yeah.
in delay mode, Paul. We've got to wait a day because we have to do the show.
Right. Yeah,
We're going to move on now.
now
you know,
we can
and you don't know what kind, and Russ isn't going to tell you, but what kind of emotions he was playing with. I mean, this wasn't just a normal Sunday game for him. So
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is.
I can
behind
tell
him
you what
now.
he's going
Now
to tell
he
you.
can
Nothing.
feel off nothing, but I mean, now this is behind him, and he doesn't have to answer the questions every week now, and he can solely focus on the next week's opponent.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a real game now, and real tape, and sitting down and planning for week 2. I think there's, like we've all pointed out, and even Paul included. Everything's going to be okay. Calm down. As Albert said, 16 more games left. It'll be all right. You know what I mean? We got a long season in front of us. As I think even Russell Wilson said, stay the course. So. I will say, like you said, just kind of going into this, kind of going over the Texans real quick. Davis Mills still does impress a little bit. Had 0 interceptions, went 23 for 37 for 240 yards. So
Great game manager.
Yeah, look, another Geno Smith type of performance, I would say. That we could be looking at. So. I don't think their defense is nearly as scary, but at the same time, I wasn't that scared about Seattle. I think the biggest difference is like you pointed out, Jody, we're not going to Seattle. It's not Seattle. It's not Russ going back to Seattle. You know what I mean? We're back at home. It's week 2. I think we'll have a lot more level head watching that tape, getting all that communication issue out of the way that we had. Hopefully we can resolve some of that. We come in, we have a much cleaner game in week 2.
And I even
against
remember
Texans.
when Manning went back to the Colts the first time. I mean, they lost, and it
Yep.
was kind of the same
Yeah.
thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he had to answer all of it. I mean, he's not focused on football all week.
Yeah, I was at that
about
game.
coming back and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a normal game,
At least they cheered him, though.
right?
They
That's
did
true.
cheer Manning.
They did cheer Manning. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't necessarily Manning saying, "Hey, I want the heck out of Indianapolis," so either.
Yeah.
So I made it a little bit easier to welcome him back with open arms. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'll go around the horn. I'll go final thoughts. All of a sudden, I think I just lost some power in here. So let me finish out that. You guys figure out some final thoughts. I'll get some lighting figured out so it doesn't seem like it's the Halloween edition. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
I expect a big game next week. I really expect them to get the run game going. I mean, the run game I thought was they ran at will when they wanted, and I expect them to get that going. And I expect to see Russ a lot more loose and laid back now that he doesn't have to deal with all the drama and BS of Seattle and Pete Carroll. And I'll take Nathaniel Hackett at his word that he'll learn from this, and there'll be much better clock management, and I expect an all-around better game.
So what is
So,
your
yeah,
what is your prediction for the game?
Ooh, already throwing out the prediction. Oh, yeah, we should do that.
I mean, I see somewhere 24, 28, 10, 16, somewhere in there. I think.
Okay.
I mean, Denver will clean up their mistakes, get the penalties out of the way. They don't have to fight the crowd this week. Just a lot of different factors that they don't have to mess with anymore.
All right, Albert, how about you, man? Final thoughts and predictions?
30-12, something like that.
30-12.
Russell will have multiple touchdowns, and Pookie will have his TD while running it. Yeah, because they know what they can expect now. It is home territory. They don't have the noise. They can coordinate better. I think we will see a fantastic game.
Michael, how about you?
Yeah, we're going to get at least 14 more points because we're not going to fumble on the 1 yard line again. So we're going to get 2 of those in next time. That gives us 30 points against a team that's got a lot worse of a defense than Seattle. So I say at least 30 to 10, maybe something around what Albert said.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably be in that same ballpark. I'll probably say maybe like a 27-18. I expect it to be a little bit closer. I don't expect us to completely blow out the Texans. Again, Davis Mills is a good game manager, as Jody mentioned, and I think that he has the ability to put a few drives together, put a few points on the board. But overall, I think we clean up our mistakes, and let's face it, man. When we all started talking about pregame or before the season started and what we expected and where we expected our wins, week 1 was one place that we all kind of expected to win. So week 2 it does put a little bit of pressure on getting that win. We can't just continue to drop games, especially if we want to be in the playoff hunt at the end. But this is a game that we need to go in. This is a game that I'm sure all marked on our schedules as a win before the season started. So should get that win as well. One last comment, Sis, I always want to call him Ed. Sis comes in and says, I hope they start throwing to their wideouts. He just doesn't get that. Yeah, Sis, I'll agree, man. I think, like I said, it was some game planning. Maybe game planning changes as far as next week. All right, guys. Well, this wraps up the show for tonight. We'll be back again Tuesday, September 20th at 6:30 p.m., wrapping up what should be that Broncos win against the Texans. Please follow, like, and subscribe. We are on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, so you can find us just about anywhere. You can also chat with me directly through my Twitter account. You guys have any accounts anybody can talk to you directly through?
Facebook.
Denver Broncos.
Just
Yes.
Facebook.
That's where I'm at all the time.
Right on.
Denver Broncos Facebook.
Very good. Join our group on Facebook at Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and all of us typically hang out on that forum as well. We do a lot of posting and chatting there about all your Broncos and so much more. Like I said, even like the no huddle that should be on this Saturday. So we always appreciate all our viewers, commenters. Remember, you can join us live and be part of the conversation. A big thank you to our sponsor Willow Seasoning, from all of us here at the Denver Bronco Roundup and the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and have a fantastic evening.